Welcome, everyone, to another episode of In the Eye of the Hurricane, presented by Coastline Contractors. I'm your host, Chad Choate, joined as always by the head football coach of the Manatee Hurricanes, Jacquez Green. I want to thank you for joining us as we talk everything Manatee football. Let's jump into last week's game, Coach. Week 1 of the season. This one counts. Good victory against a Lake Minneola team traveling from over in the Orlando area. We traveled to them last year. It's a decent bus drive for sure. A little bit different than they were last year. New coach, some different players who have come and gone, but ultimately winning 59-17. Impressive victory for the Hurricanes. Just give us your overall thoughts as you all had a chance to take a look at the film over the weekend.
I thought the kids played hard. That's first and foremost. That's probably the first thing you look at when you evaluate film. Kids played hard. I thought we executed on offense. I thought we played extremely hard on defense. We blew a few coverages in the secondary, but other than that, I thought we played lights out defensively. Special teams played extremely well. We covered kicks well. I think we knocked those guys inside the 22 or 3 different times on kickoff coverage. So all in all, I thought we played well, other than a few busted coverages in the secondary.
How about the offense? What was your perception of you all moving the ball?
We knew the guys would run a lot of cover 2. If they run a lot of cover 2, you have to be able to run the football because they'll have a lid on the coverage. Keep from trying to get the ball vertical or deep. I thought we ran the ball well. Keyshawn ran the ball well. He looked as good as advertised. And also the backup guys ran well. Malik came in the game and had 6 or 7 carries for about 30, 40 yards. Caden White, the freshman, came in the game and had some good runs. So we ran the ball very well. So I was pleased with how we played the first game offensively. Yeah,
let's keep it on the offensive side of the ball and talk about the way we moved the ball. I really didn't feel like there was ever a time when I felt like they could really stop us, and I'll start with, and we talked about this in our pregame, and we talked about this during the beginning of the year podcast. I think offensive line is a spot that, three brand new starters, young guys, sophomores, and to me the question was always going to be, are they ready to run the ball in between the tackles, right? And I thought we did a great job, or let's say a good job, of that last Friday compared to what we did against Hillsborough. I thought we definitely progressed from kickoff classic to week 1. Did you feel that way too as watching the film?
Yeah, I thought we ran the ball. We knew we had opportunities. Having opportunities and then capitalizing on opportunities is 2 different things. We ran the ball well. I thought the guys, they young guys, but they smart guys. They know what they're doing. The only thing they have to do is shore up the technique and play with a little bit more knee bend, backs a little bit flatter. And I think that'll come as they get more and more reps and really understand the position.
Well, I think the thing about the offensive line, I think that people don't understand is, there's so many multiple facets of it. You got to know where to go, who to block. And those guys don't just stand there, right?
Yeah.
All defensive guys are shifting and moving and blitzing and coming in like they're going to blitz and stepping away and disguising things. So it's not just like you're writing a static, on the sheet of paper. And then just the mental part of it, then combined with the physical part of it, of you have 2 human beings pushing on each other, right? And yes, our guys are big, but so are theirs. And they had some good defensive size linemen. And so, I think that some people kind of underestimate the intricacy of offensive line. And I think you look at most levels, you win the offensive line, especially at that part of the line of scrimmage. I think you're going to do pretty well on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, there's a lot of intricacies of playing offensive line. It's not as simple as people in the stand saying block somebody.
Right.
And so you have to do your job up front, and it also has to go hand in hand with the back. You can block it correctly, and the back can hit the hole the wrong way, or they can bounce the ball when they shouldn't bounce the ball. But the kids, we went in with a game plan, and we executed the game plan. That's a testament of the offensive line and the running backs.
So beyond the offensive line, I think impressed me. Obviously, listen, Keyshawn is exactly who we thought he was, right? What's that line from the coach? Was it wasn't Dungy? It was Mora, right? Danny Green. We are who we thought we were. Yeah. So, but he is exactly who we thought he was, right? A guy who I think he ended up with 17 carries, about 169 yards, 3 touchdowns, right? I mean, it's exactly who we thought he could be. When the crease is there, he's gone, and nobody's touched him. But also, there were some physical yards there. There were some physical 5-6 yard runs where he's pushing a little bit of bodies from the defensive side. And I thought, again, everything we expected. And if he continues to do that kind of output, it's going to be really tough to stop this offense.
Yeah, he always been a favorite of mine because of the way he's a tough kid. He's not only just skilled and fast, but he's tough. He'll hit it up in there. He's good in pass protection. He'll step in front of a linebacker and pick up on pass protection. He catches the ball well. He not only has straight line speed, but he has terrific lateral agility. So he is good. Thing about him, I told him he got to be in better shape. Now, if you're going to carry the ball all the time, he started cramping. I think in the second or third quarter, I said, you got to carry the ball. I said, great backs be in great shape because they have to carry the ball a lot. And so we talked this week about him being in great shape and make sure he hydrates throughout the week because we'll ride him as much as we can.
Well, I saw in the locker room the pickle juice, and it must be somebody who's now said, hey, this is our specialty. We're going to sell pickle juice. We used to just have pickle jars and finish the juice, keep the juice. But is that something that obviously we've taken, and it's not just him. I think Christian cramped up a little bit, and maybe some others. And that's going to happen in the heat, and you're exerting yourself, differently in the game than practice. But the pickle juice, is that something that these guys are taking to have?
Yeah, they like to look extra good on the field, and they like to put tights on and stuff. And I'm telling them it's so humid out there that you're going to sweat a lot. But we try to use pickle juice from the pickle jars. We also have the pickle juice that you can buy. They also have pickle freeze pops that the kids eat now.
Wow.
So whatever it takes for them to be hydrated, along with giving them Pedialyte pregame meal with them pregame meals. So we try to keep the kids hydrated, but you have to do it throughout the week. You can't just wait to Thursday or Friday to hydrate yourselves. You got to start hydrating yourself at the beginning of the week.
So talk a little bit about more about the offense. I think Andrew, was just efficient. He, 100 or so yards. It wasn't the big production day. Really didn't need it. But, when we did need it, he threw the ball pretty well. Farrakhan Shannon had several catches, probably his biggest game in maybe his career. I mean, probably I think he needed about 40 to 50 yards.
Yeah.
Some of that range. And a touchdown. And so, just a great job, but actually on Farrakhan's touchdown. Great RPO read there to read it and throw it up. He could have put it much higher, and Farrakhan could have gone even higher, how tall he is. But I thought he was very efficient on the night. From a passing standpoint, but we really didn't need to rely on the passing game.
Yeah, he's very efficient. The ones he missed could have been a drop or a pass deflection. The other one was a play that the receiver has to know if he can't get the ball, he has to knock the ball away. So Andrew did a great job. We didn't really need much out of Andrew except for him to be efficient the other night, just to make a couple of throws and keep those guys honest and keep the defensive backs back because we did such a great job up front the way we just can run the football. It'll be games down the line we'll need Andrew to throw the ball 30, 35 times. But whenever Andrew plays, man, it looks simple. And at the end of the night, he's just very efficient. At the end of the night, he's 14 for 17. He's 13 for 14 pass. And he makes it look easy and he makes it look effortless.
I'll say on the run that he scores on, and kind of put his shoulder down and end up being upside down a little bit through the hit and through the tackle. Got a little nervous, right? How did you? I know it's a bang play.
It was up to Andrew. Andrew wants to run the ball a lot.
Sure.
He's a physical kid. He loves contact. I think he had a chance to run into the end zone. I think he slowed up just so he can run over the guy. And I try to tell Andrew, I'm saying, not about you being physical, but sometimes you can get hit on the shoulder and injure or AC joint or anything. Yeah. So that's what he has to realize.
Yeah, just got a freak accident. It's not about, I know he's physical. I know he's going to hit, but, you don't want just any kind of a freak accident to happen, especially going up over in like that, and you never know. But, I mean, listen, he sees pay dirt. He's going to go get it, and it's kind of what you expect. Kind of hard to pull that back. You know what I mean?
It is hard to pull it back.
Defensively, I think that, they never really sustained any kind of drive on us to score. All three scores were big plays of 50-plus, 45, 50-plus long throws, and really not even pass routes of any kind of concepts. It was just I'm catching it and I'm throwing over top and just letting my guy run to it. And I really think I don't think it was ever any of them were really they beat us. Our physical aspect, it was mentally just some communication things in the back end, especially when they stacked those receivers out way wide, and we talked about that. They love spreading numbers. But But ultimately, is that what you guys saw too on the defensive side?
Yeah, it wasn't anything with the scheme. Those guys not communicating. And furthermore, your safeties can't have their eyes in the backfield.
Right.
Safeties had their eyes in the backfield too many times of the night. They have to have their eyes on the receivers to see where they're going. The first coverage, all three coverages were busted coverages.
Right.
It's like unacceptable. We can't have that. They got to stay back because safeties are secondary defenders for a reason. Screens and what have you are going to be defended by the linebackers, so they have to stay back and play better. They played pretty good the Hillsborough game. I think they took a step back last week, so hopefully they redeem themselves with the upcoming game against Southeast.
I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. I mean, I think up front we were extremely dominant, caused a lot of havoc and chaos in the backfield. Do you know how many tackles for losses we had in the game? I didn't see that stat.
I'm not even sure, but I know Dangler and Ian
had to
Elbow
have been 4 or 5. If I had to guess, 4 or 5.
He's back there, and that's more reason that the defensive backs need to stay back. They never ever established a run game, so there's no reason for you to run up 4 runs.
I believe they ended negative on the run game.
So just stay back and play pass. Now there's gonna come a time where we're gonna have teams that are gonna be able to run the ball on us a little bit. That they'll have to get involved in the run game a lot more. But this team never even showed they can run the football. So stay back, put a lid on the coverage, and keep the ball in front of you.
I saw a stat, or I was listening to some podcasts this week as we get ready for college football really to ramp up. And Florida plays Miami. I know we're excited about that, but I'm listening on podcasts and things like that, and what lines it takes and things like that this weekend. And I heard a stat that if a defense in a series creates 1 tackle for loss in that series, that there's only a 20% chance that offense scores a touchdown. And I thought that's pretty. I mean, that's a low percentage off of 1 tackle for loss, and so it got me thinking, especially about with us and our front 4, really front 7. We have had probably, I would say, last 2 games, Kickoff Classic maybe doesn't count for stats, but I would say 10 tackle for losses. I mean, that bodes really well if we can continue on that pace of having tackles for losses, if that hangs true.
Well, we were setting up this scheme out. I wanted to do some things where we can always be balanced if teams try to RPO us, which is a 3-4 defense. Also, it gives us a chance to move guys around and create chaos up front. We got guys that can't be blocked already, so now you combine that with guys moving and slanting, it creates a lot of chaos. We got outstanding outside linebacker play, and we got two sturdy guys in the middle that can handle hard downhill run games. So if we continue to play well and keep the ball in front of us on the back end, we should continue to have tackle for losses and create turnovers and all types of chaos defensively.
Yeah, no, great game, and really another one that a lot of guys getting to be able to play. Some of the young guys getting in there. You mentioned Caden White, some of the defensive guys being able to get in there and getting some sacks and getting some playing time, which is huge. It really sets us up that if something does happen to a starter, hopefully it doesn't. But we got guys getting ready to go and getting ready to play. So we're going to take a quick short break, listen to a message from some of our sponsors. Don't go anywhere. This is In the Eye of the Hurricane. Welcome back to In the Eye of the Hurricane, presented by Coastline Contractors. We're going to get into this week's game, Coach. Depending on who you talk to, this is the rivalry, Manatee versus Southeast. And we actually had a chance, unfortunately, yourself and Coach Bradley, we tried to get you guys at Kiwanis on Tuesday to kind of get the rivalry going and talk to the Kiwanians there. Unfortunately, couldn't get you guys in to get some class coverage and things. But the athletic directors, Matt Kitchie and Matt Bowling, came, and it was special. Matt Kitchie is the athletic director at Southeast, was a player at Southeast as well, and so it was a cool environment. It was fun, and they both really talked about getting this rivalry back and get it going again like it used to be. And who knows if it's ever going to be like that again. But do you feel like, before we start talking about who the Seminoles are and what we expect from them, from the rivalry standpoint, do you feel like there is a little bit more of a this is not just your normal game?
It has historical significance, but the fact that so many other schools been opened up since those first, since Manatee and Southeast was getting this thing going, there's a little different now. The talent is spread out more so. as opposed to back in the day when all the talent was at Manatee and Southeast. It's always been a tough game since I've been here to play them. I think we beat them pretty good last year, but other than that, it's been a tough game. We played them at the beginning of the year as opposed to at the end of the year, so they're feeling good at 1-0. They feel they can come in here and they feel they have a chance to beat us. So Manatee is already a game that a lot of teams circle on their calendar. I remember going over there a few years ago on their senior night. All the guys were saying their favorite moment as a Southeast Seminole was beating Manatee.
Yeah.
So they really, circle this game on their calendar, and they really want to beat us. So they're going to give us the best shot.
Yeah, but I think we're pretty much going to get everybody's best shot typically week in, week out. But and you bring up a lot of the schools and how population is kind of spread out now throughout the county a little more than it used to be. And I think it's the age, right? And we've talked about this before in years past, but I think it depends how old you are. And for me, 2003 graduate, it was Manatee and Southeast. You talk to a 2013 graduate, it's probably Manatee and Palmetto because that's just kind of been what it's been the last 3 years. But you mentioned it. Southeast is coming off a victory. They're 1-0. They did some Hall of Honor stuff. They got their new field, turf this past last Friday night. Their athletic director Matt Kitchie said it was a great evening. They win 50-something to low teens against Central. I think it was Central High School from Brooksville. And so talk a little about the Seminoles. What are we going to expect from them offensively and defensively? Kurt Bradley is their coach, who used to be the Braden River coach. This is his first year taking over the Seminoles.
They always have solid athletes. They'll have some guys that can score with the football in space. They don't have as much depth as we do, but I think their frontline guys are solid guys. They want to spread you out and try to run the football. They'll go in some wildcat formation and get the big defensive end who's a great athlete at quarterback and run the football with them. So they want to run the ball, shorten the game, and try to keep your offense off the field. Defensively, they'll mix up some 4-down looks with some 3-3 stack looks. I think Bradley always ran a 3-3 stack over at Braden River.
Yeah, I think so.
So they probably try to mix that in, as much as their personnel permit them to mix it in. And they play a lot of cover 3, which he played at Braden River. So they got beat pretty good against Newsom, but they bounced back. That's a testament to that type of team they probably have this year, that they can get beat real well 1 week and bounce back and beat another team the same way the next week. So they played well against Brooksville. They dominated from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. So we're expecting Southeast to come in here and give us their best shot.
Well, when Coach Bradley was always at Braden River, Coach Sanders was a longtime friend and his OC for a long time. When he left and Bradley came over to Southeast, new offensive coordinator, a little bit different. And I don't know, really looking at it, I don't know how much really change there's been. The offense looked very similar to what he was running in at Braden River. Maybe Braden River he had some tight end play, maybe a little bit more than I saw on film, and maybe that's just personnel. But typically nothing really different that we see, from ourselves. I mean, they're spread. They're going to be in shotgun. They're going to do some inside zone things like that.
It's very similar to what he did at Braden River. Give you a lot of unbalanced formations. He used a tight end, have a big kid. Crawford, number 8, is a great athlete. He plays defensive line, plays some tight end.
Coached him in Little League.
Yeah, they want to run the football. They want to find ways to outbalance you, outnumber you at the point of attack, and run the ball. They're not throwing it much unless they really have to throw it. They'll get you up in the line of scrimmage and try to hit you with a few RPOs. But if they're going to beat you, they're going to run the ball and try to keep your offense off the field.
Defensively for them, you mentioned some 4-3 or some 3-3 stack. I mean, it's a pretty significant change, and to be multiple like that from you as an offensive standpoint, and not, you never know what they're going to be in, of course, before you get to the line of scrimmage and the play begins. How do you prepare during the week for multiple fronts like that? I mean, there's going to have to be some time where we're dealing with the 4-man front and the 3-man front, right?
Well, there's sometimes in practice I will get in the odd stack front, 3-3 stack front. Then sometimes I get in the 4-man front. I may do inside run with a 3-3 stack, and I may do team in a 4-down front. So we try to give them a little bit of both, but I think they start the game on the 4-man front. So we look at that more than anything. And if they get in the stack front, we'll go to the sideline and make the adjustments to it. Stack front is not as tough to block this year for us because we've still on the odd front in practice with our defense.
True.
So it's not as difficult to block as in years past.
And, I mean, a 3-3 stack, I think, can be very difficult with linebackers directly behind. And we say 3-3 stack, 3 down linemen, the 3 linebackers are directly behind the linebackers, or the D lineman 5 yards back. And it can be a little bit difficult just because of the angles and where the offensive linemen have to get to the second level. Do you anticipate, and maybe not this game, but have you ever, I guess, when a play is called, do you give Andrew either the ability to check out of something if it's a 3-man front or 4-man front, or is it something that, hey, offensive linemen, we got to know that this is now a 3-man front, so we're blocking it this way. We're going to keep the same play, but they got to know that. Or do you have the chance to audible if you really want to?
The offensive line know it. The center knows if you got a head up zero technique that it's an odd front. If he has a shade or a guy in the gaps, it's an even front. So I pretty much try to call it from the sideline. I try to give us numbers at the point of attack, and I try to make it so, if a guy is coming free off the edge or what have you, I'll put some kind of alert on the outside where we can throw the ball in the perimeter right quick so we can get the numbers back in our favor.
So, I know we got coaches in the box, and I know Coach Beatty sits next to us in the box. Coach Graham is up in the box, the press box for you on offense. Talk a little bit about, because as I was listening to podcasts as week 2 and stuff, and saw some of the games that happened week 0 last week in college football, just talking about adjustments and things and seeing how teams can come out and play and adjusting. What are your expectations especially for you, for the coach up in the box? What are you asking him to see, to look for, and to make sure they're communicating down the field? Are you looking for formation stuff? Like, hey, is it 3-man front, 4-man front?
When I get the formation, I try to ask them, are they playing the way we're expecting them to play it based on practice and based on film study? Are they doing anything different? Is they trying to flip a certain guy to the strength every time or what have you? So I just want to make sure, for early in the game, we try to verify what we see on film. I try to give them formations. I even tell them before I give them the formation, I'm going to give you bunch, how they playing the bunch formation. Because formation like bunch or empty, or when you're playing with tight ends, most of the time they only have like one way they're going to play it. So you try to see the way they're going to play it for that game and try to exploit it. And, you have to make the adjustments right then. A lot of teams, somebody make adjustments at halftime, sometimes too late. If you get to halftime and start trying to make adjustments,
you're already behind.
You're already behind. So if they do something different or out of the ordinary during that series, we try to go to the sideline and look at the iPads or what have you and try to make the adjustments right then.
Something interesting, too, I just want to see what you think about this. College football is about to have first time this season to have the communication in the helmets, right? Which obviously, you don't have to call signals anymore, or old school and run the quarterback to the coach on the sideline. That's really old school. And obviously we put signs up and we put our, now it looks like, especially on defense. On offense, I don't know if you're still doing hand signals or do you have the cards?
Do a combination. We can signal in. I can give them on the wristband. So
gotcha.
It's just what I'm feeling. And sometimes Andrew just run over to me every time because he just like running over to me. So it's a feel. A lot of times once I get an idea of what they're running, I just screen the play out to Andrew. The defensive kids don't know what I'm talking about. So. And we do a lot of our plays with code names and what have you, so they'll never get a feel for what we're doing. Now, every blue moon, you may get the cornerback on your sideline who's trying to listen in to what you have to do, and then we'll go back to signals or wristbands.
Do you feel that communication tool, communication in the helmet, will ever come to the high school level?
I think it will. We usually
I think so too.
A little bit behind. It makes sense. They need to get that. They also need to decide on what hash marks we're all going to use.
That's true too.
One hash mark for high school, one for college, one for the pros. But I think that type of communication will come eventually. When I was coaching at Valdosta in 2013, that was the first time we started being able to use the iPads on the sideline.
Yep.
So everybody was figuring out how to get the Wi-Fi into the stadium. That's not
that was brutal, wasn't it?
That's not dealing with the other Wi-Fi in the stadium. To get your own Wi-Fi in the stadium to be able to run your iPads. I think at that time we was running the iPads from an iPad up in the coaching booth and syncing it to an iPad
and the huddle would push it.
So I think eventually I think we'll be able to speak directly into the quarterback's ear like the college gamers went to it, as well as the pro game.
No, I definitely, it makes it more efficient, makes maybe the game move a little bit quicker and easier rather than having to deal with everything else. Let's jump right back in. Sorry, I'm kind of diverted there, but to Southeast, What about their special teams? Anybody on special teams you feel like that there's somebody that could, from their standpoint, that we got to be careful of, or is just do our job?
Well, they always have guys back there that can score the football. They always have a lot of quick guys, athletic kids that go to that school. So we always have to be down there and be in our lanes and cover the football well. I think special teams should be a strength of ours this year. I had a lot of guys on the kickoff team that's really part-time starters that can run down the field and tackle in space and very physical. So we have to win the special teams game each and every week. That's one part of our game that we can't be even or lose it, that we have to win the special team part of our game each week to have the type of season that we want to have.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think, I know at Kiwanis, both athletic directors, urged the Kiwanians there in the building to get to the game, right? Like this was the game that everybody in the county loved to go to, and so I encourage everybody out there to get to the game and really support these student athletes and what they do. But let's get Hawkins Stadium packed. So I know we're on live stream and we're on the radio, and it's easy to sit at home and watch that. But I encourage you all, 7:30, Joe Kinane Field at Hawkins Stadium. The rivalry between Manatee and Southeast is here Friday night. We're excited. Coach, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you out there for following us and watching. And as always, go Canes, go.